Oh boy. How do you do? Today we're doing our special guitar stream. Alright. So, guitar practice. What are the sorts of things that people would like to practice when they practice guitar? I think if we start with the most simple place, and perhaps this might not be the best place to start, but if we were trying to hypothetically come up with the best practice, what would you do? My mind immediately goes to the spider walk, where you try to play every single note and have it not have other notes ring out and fuck up and play it in rhythm. So let's try that out. I'm gonna do it a little free form first to warm up, then I'm gonna play it to a metronome, and I'm gonna slowly increase the speed and see if we can reach our limit. So here we are. This is the exercise. And so I think one of the things I'm trying to do is work on playing rhythmically, and one of the ways that people can make interesting solos on the guitar is that they mix note values. That is to say, let's say there is a metronome that's going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you were to play a whole note, you'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. But if you divide that in half, then you would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so forth. And so if you can master all the subdivisions of a tempo, then you can have really good rhythm. So a lot of times you'll be playing in quarter notes, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But then it's interesting if you switch it up rhythmically and then start going into triplets. So over the same time, so it'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 1, or whatever the heck. You know what I mean? But in order to have mastery of the rhythm, we're going to have to practice this thing called mixing note values. And so you can do that in this shit. And that's what we're going to do right now. So let me pull up my metronome. I got a metronome app. I use Metronome Beats. Let's start with 90 BPM 4/4 time. 1, 2. Now we're playing triplets. So, if these are whole notes, let's break this down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are whole notes. Half notes would be like. And then that becomes quarter notes, I believe. This right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, because there's 4 notes between each beat, so that makes it quarter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. Alright, so then if we were to attempt not sextuplets like the 5-note ones, what would that look like? Let's try that out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not quadruplets, not sextuplets, quintuplets. Is that what it is? The 5? Quintuplets? One, two, three, four, five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that right? No. And so then this is like reminded me of something I saw in a birth video the other day, where it's worthwhile to record your practices into your DAW, and then you can actually look if you're doing like the right note values or whatever the heck over the rhythm. Because I'm trying to work it out by ear, but like what if I make a mistake and I practice it wrong, right? So let's see if we can get 5 in between each beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, that seems like it's more challenging, and it isn't necessarily the most difficult, or not necessarily. It's not necessarily the most useful skill. So let's slow it down and see if we can figure that out, wrap that around in our head. So that's 4. Quickly becomes very difficult to keep track of. Well, then let's try sextuplets then. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And so we slowed it down so it is easier to fit all those notes in there, but that's not necessarily a problem because I think I'm just trying to wrap my head around these rhythms, or like the mathematics of it. What happens if we try to do 7? One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's difficult. So let's try putting the speed up and seeing how fast we can do it but maintaining it. Let's try 200 BPM at whole notes, I guess. One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not actually that hard. Just with whole notes, still not that far. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bum, bum, bum. so I guess that would be half notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, So when we try to do half notes over 200, which is essentially equivalent to 400 BPM in a way, that's when we start to get kind of sloppy. Seems like it's still kind of doable in a way, but there are there's like a fatiguing effect where it's like the more you do it, your fingers don't want to do it anymore. So let's try putting it up to 250 and playing whole notes. We're getting pretty sloppy there. I did try to go into the half notes thing. Let's move up to 300. Alright, let's bring it down. Bring it down all the way back to 200. And see how we can start playing at the higher tempos by subdividing it to be appropriately. So that right there, I did it very sloppily. But that was a mixing of note values. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. And so if you can get if you can develop mastery of those tempo switches, or not, they're not even tempo switches. You're just changing the way that you are dividing the rhythm, I guess. That can be a good skill. So let's try that out some more. In fact, let's bring it down to 175. And so, what I'm interested in figuring out how to do, or get really good at, is learning how to go between 4 and 3, or to play 3 over 4 really easily. And I guess that's sort of like a mental muscle you kind of have to build. Because you kind of build a polyrhythm out of it. So let's like bring it down to just all the way down to 125. I'm gonna bring it all the way down to 100, and we're gonna try to mess around with going between 4 and 3. Let's try these concepts out, but over a scale instead of the chromatic shit. Yeah, alright. So then I can combine this. This is the other thing I've been trying to practice, is I'm getting to the point where I've kind of mastered the 3-note per string shapes to some degree, and I want to get into like the 4-note per string shape, and I'm starting to kind of wrap my head around that. And so what we can do is we can play 3, like since there are 3 notes per string, it's easier to play triplets over 4. And then what we can also do is do the 4-note per string as 4/4. So 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3. That's cool. I found a different way to practice triplets. Yeah, so for that one I'm using the pentatonic, and I'm kind of descending it, but using one of these, like, I guess I kind of think of them as lanes. So you use the right lane and then you use the left lane. Here, I'm gonna lower that, because I want to play that good in time. Alright, let's try this out. And alright, so there's that, and I want this part ascending. Alright, let's try this. Alright. Well, we got it there. We didn't get the loop, but we played every note. So, should I pick my nose on stream? Let me know in the chat. Alright, there we go. Audio. That's a pretty important factor of this stream when you really get down to it. It's a good thing I caught that 26 minutes in. So this is what we got working. We're working with rhythm and time and scales and triplets over 4 in the pentatonic and right lanes and left lanes. Look at this. Something like that. I just came up with that shit like a moment ago. It's like a new kind of way of playing the scale. And so I'm like kind of putting my brain in a different zone. It's interesting because I feel like once I like just ingrained that, then I just got like another little trick in the bag I can pull out. But I'm thinking about it like as if on each scale there's a different lane, and the lanes are like wiggly lanes, but there's a right and there's a left, especially on the pentatonic because you got all these 2-note per string shapes, right? So if you take some of these pentatonic 2-note per string shapes, you descend one of the lanes 1 triplet, you descend the other lane another triplet, then you go down 1 more note and descend again, and then you just go back and forth. And so it's kind of an ordered thing that makes a lot of sense, but then it kind of creates something that sounds kind of cool if you can play it in rhythm, like. And it also gets you to like kind of think about the scale differently. Like you can play it vertically. Like I guess these are playing with fourths when you get down to it. Because we're so used to this shit. And so this is something we should also get into, is 3-note per string pentatonic. I wonder what would happen if you tried to do like note per string trickery with arpeggios. Like if you did like 3-note per string arpeggios. How weird would that fingering be? I feel like some of the 3-note per string pentatonics are like extremely natural, and I already know them without even ever trying to practice them. But then some of them are a little more awkward. And so if we can ingrain what the feeling of a 3-note per string pentatonic is, that would be good. Let's continue with this. Might help if we know which pentatonic we're in. And then similarly, I've been coming up with this thing, or I don't know if I came up with it. It's probably an established thing where you go 3 note per string, 4 note per string, 3 note per string, 4 note per string with the modes. But I imagine there's a similar thing you can do with pentatonics where you go 3 note per string, 2 note per string, 3 note per string, 2 note per string. So let's try messing around with that in our head. I definitely want to practice that skill a lot. Well, I'm gonna make a list of things to practice, which in a way might seem a little counterproductive, but if we make a good list, then it will be productive. So let's think about, actually I was making a list earlier, so let's make a second list again, and let's abridge the list I was making. I did it on my phone, so let's see. So there's a lot of different areas of focus. Rhythm is an area of focus. What notes to play, notation, like or whatever. I guess we call it scales / chords / arpeggios. So you want to learn for 3 note per string and 4 note per string, or we want to practice. These are things we want to practice. We already know these things. 4 note per string for the modes. 4 modes. We want to get the 3 note per string for we can organize this better. So let's just write modes. What are the things we need to practice with the modes? So we have all these scale shapes. 3 note per string, comma, 4 note per string, comma, 3 note, 4 note. That, and then we also want 2 note per string for the modes, because the 2 note gives you a diagonal downwards. So let's demonstrate this. Let's play in like A minor. Here is the regular A minor. Actually, it's more like this. Okay, so there's that. Then we can do that in 3 notes per string, which makes it just a tiny bit longer. Okay, so there's that. But then we also got 4 note per string, which is like super long now. Something like that. That's the thing we want to practice the most. We also got 3-note, 4-note, 3-note, 4-note, and vice versa. So we could try that. Right? So then that's like one way to launch up there, 3-note, 4-note, 3-note, 4-note. And then we also got 2-note per string, which is going to make us go diagonal downwards. We could have, hypothetically, that pattern can go on longer, but where we played it, we ran out of room. And so that's what we want to practice in relation to modes. For the pentatonic, we want to do 3-note per string. Okay, so there's the regular pentatonic. It's 2-note per strings every single time. If we do this, as you can see, I haven't done my practice on that. There's playing 3 notes per string of the same scale. We also want to do 2-note, 3-note. So for pentatonic, 3 notes per string is similar to 4 notes per string for modes. Because it makes you go way up here and shit. But 2-note, 3-note is very similar to 3 notes per string for modes. So let's try 2-note, 3-note. Something like that. If we can master all those little omnidirectional whatever the fucks, that would be good. And let's try 1 note per string for pentatonic. Does that make like a neat diagonal? Alright, I'll throw that in there, 1 note per string. It might come in handy once in a blue moon. So that's like scales. Arpeggios. We're gonna want to practice. And then this is gonna tie into like our technique and shit. So let me write another section over here. Technique. Because that's its own field. Because we are trying to practice sweep picking. And the best way to practice sweep picking is sweeping over arpeggios for some reason. But for arpeggios, just the regular shit. Minor 7, major 7, dominant 7, and then minor major 7, which is used in like the harmonic minor, I guess. We want to do the 9th chords, 6th chords. We just want to practice arpeggiating chords and all sorts of chords and shit. Add 4, or is it sus4? Sus4, sus4, sus2, that shit. Sus4, sus2. Practice arpeggiating all these different shits. 9th chords, 11th chords, and 13th chords. So that's really what we want for arpeggios. Arpeggios, similar to scales, they sort of have like their own positions and their own modes. but I don't know if they have a word for it for arpeggios. We'll just call them positions. So like if you have like a 4-note arpeggio, then you can start that arpeggio on each of those different notes and create a new thing. All right, and so for rhythm, under rhythm, we want to practice playing over odd time. We want to practice mixing note values. Rhythm. So I figured what we want to practice is learning how to subdivide odd time. So you don't play like with the number 7 in mind. You play 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 or 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 or shit like that. 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2. And so if we can learn how to like instinctually break up those rhythms, I figure that can yield benefits. Let's go to technique over here. So sweep picking, there's that. Legato. Legato is when you hammer on all the way up the scale. So it's like that's legato. Continue working on that, I guess. Really, the way to, I think the best way to practice legato is with these 3-note per string and shapes. And then once we get good with the 4-note per string, then we would practice the legato over the 4-note per string. And then that's how you get those incredible like super fucking high up shit. Yeah. So, sweep picking, legato. What other technique? Oh yeah, there's something else I wanted to write for the pentatonics, like switching lanes. Now, that is not a technical term. That's one I came up with a couple minutes ago. But if you look at these pentatonics, since they got these 2-note per string shapes, that creates a right and a left. And so if you just like play a triplet on the right, and then play a triplet on the left, and then play a triplet on the right, then you got a whole new way to play the scale. Whatever it is, right? And I haven't practiced that. That's why I kind of sound kind of shitty with it. That only occurred to me like a couple days ago, or maybe yesterday even. But I wonder if that applies to the modes as well. I'm sure there's a way you can make it work, but to me it's not obvious yet. Yeah, I don't know. I was just trying to make right there. So right there, I tried to make the modes into a 2-note per string, and then try the same trick at like a diagonal, but it was kind of awkward. Let's try this up here in Phrygian. So when you do that with the modes, what you end up doing is you find the arpeggios that exist within them. So, all right. So this is one that goes to rhythm and technique. Actually, it's like a synthesis of all of these. So let's write one that's just like synthesis, where it's like a catch-all, where it's like the combination of these different things. So for one, we was practice playing and soloing over chord changes. And so what that would basically entail is you take one of the most, like, there's a dozen chord progressions that are extremely common in music. Da, 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 da. Da, da, da. How many fucking songs? It's the same pattern. And what they do, so there's so many songs like this. Da, 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 da. They take the same thing, but then they start it on a different thing. So they start like here. Same pattern, but they just start the pattern somewhere else. Right here, you see this? Da, 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 da. Same chords, but you just changed the one. Crawling in my skin, these words that when I hear. Something like that. And so we just get really good at soloing over those common chord changes, because it all breaks down into intervals, and the chords you pick go into the scales and shit. And so if you can learn how to go from like a 1 to a 3 to a 5 or whatever the fuck, soloing while you highlight those chord changes with the notes you pick, this is a very Jerry Garcia way of playing, I guess. In my mind, where like you highlight those chord tones in the soloing. So like, let's say this chord is like, it's like a G dominant 7 or whatever. Then when you're up here, it's like, or whatever the fuck, right? But being able to pick out those notes between the changes sounds good. And so that would be one thing to do with practice. That's like a synthesis of the different techniques and shit. What are some other techniques I'm trying to get sorted in my brain? I don't know. I think that's pretty much, I wouldn't say that that's it. But that's a solid good list of shit to practice. That's kind of what I'm trying to figure out right now. How to get mastery of odd time and regular time as well. Playing the scales in these different patterns by affecting the notes per string. Getting mastery of the different arpeggios. Mastering my technique, like my sweep picking, my legato, and let's try, I guess, like tremolo picking. Is that even the right way to call it? Or is it you want to call it alternate picking? This shit. Being able to do that in a scale, or whatever the fuck, like have mastery of that. Yeah, that's a good list. Rhythm. There's a lot I need to know about rhythm. It's very difficult to practice rhythm. Oh yeah, technique, tapping. Work on my tapping. And also I gotta work on my economy picking, so you can get that kind of tool sound. Like this kind of shit. All right. And then always there should be a certain amount of just free play. Because how else are you going to ingrain it if you don't just jam and work with what you got? Yeah. I think that I just need some more shit for rhythm to practice in particular. 'Cause practicing rhythm to me is an odd thing. Also, I should put like learn other people's solos and shit. Learn a complicated solo every now and then. Or not even just complicated, like there's something of use that you get by learning it. You get like a feel for it. It gives you a little extra whatever. All right, so so let's try and break this down. Like, what is my thing that I'm fucking up with rhythm? Because I always focus more about like playing the right notes than playing in rhythm. So odd time, mixing note values, subdividing odd time. I guess what I could do is just play like rhythm exercises that you can find online. Like maybe that'll ingrain some stuff, or at least by doing that, I'll get a better sense of what I should be learning with rhythm. Like I'll learn some vernacular that hadn't occurred to me before. All right. Well, then let's just practice for a little bit, and then we'll call it quits. And we'll come back some other time. I'll practice. So I want to work on my sweep picking. All right. I'm gonna try some of these scale shapes. So what I'll start with, I'll do the 3-note per strings for the modes, and I'm just gonna go up one of the 3-note per string shapes and descend the next shape. And then I think we'll start in F sharp Phrygian, because why not? Alright. Let's try that over. They fucked it up there. For some reason, the natural minor scale, like, I should have that like it's the back of my hand or something, but I always fuck it up like around the B string, you know what I mean? Alright, and yeah, so then after minor is the Locrian, the diminished scale thing. Or it's not the diminished scale, but it is a scale corresponding to the diminished chord in the major scale. And so, to me, I have a hard time telling if I've played the Locrian correctly, because naturally I kind of switch into the notes that aren't dissonant for some reason. At least for the Locrian, when you try to play the scale, that is, because it's so different from the other ones. See, because that doesn't sound very Locrian to me, but maybe it is. It is Locrian that way. And then up here is major. Let's try descending 3-note, 4-note, 3-note, 4-note. We didn't do the Dorian. So this was major. And right here is Dorian. And then we're back to where we started, which is Phrygian in F sharp. So I think I got the free note strings shit like pretty decently. Like I can figure them out on the fly. But what I need is to be able to have them like so ingrained. It's just like ingrained as fuck. And there's minor. And then the Locrian. Back to major, or well, we didn't even start at major for this one, so now we have major. Then we have Dorian. Then we go back to Phrygian. Alright. Let's try G sharp Dorian. Here's the honest question. Is it worthwhile to play so much slower to have better technique? Well, if we can have a crystal ball and know that to be true, then perhaps it would be. Let's try some 4-note per string shit. So let's try 4-note per string Dorian, G Dorian. I was trying to do Dorian, but I actually did the minor scale instead. What's this G minor then? It's only a 1-note difference. Alright. That's about an hour 17, hour 18. It's a decent sort of, that's kind of the vague sorts of things I kind of want to be practicing. We put some time into it. I don't know if I want to stream it all the time. I don't think so. But maybe what I could do is do a practice session like that every day, and then afterwards have like a sort of free play, sort of mess around with different shit, and then I'll stream that maybe. That might be more exciting or something. Or might not even just exciting, you might just get better shit out of it. Like I should just practice by myself, and then once I'm warmed up, turn the camera on and fuck around and see what I can come up with. And that can enhance the practice in a way, because now you're utilizing what you just practiced in a practical manner. So we'll figure this out with time. But we're reading stories on Wednesdays and Sundays, I guess. Tom Sawyer. Alright. Well, y'all take care then. Bye-bye.